Welcome back, guys. This is your review for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but I am so, I don't think stressed is the right word, but I think, oh boy, a lot has happened. A lot has happened. This Sunday was given. That's all I can say. From the qualifying down to the race, just everything. Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to start from, but you know what? This is gonna be a long one, so sit back, enjoy yourself, get something to drink because you will need it. Just so much happened. I will try and go through this as quick as I can, but with the amount of things that happen, I don't know how long this video is gonna be, you know? But let's get into it. If you're new here, thank you for clicking on this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends as well. So let's get into it. The first qualifying session. So qualifying was moved to this morning. If you don't know, it's at the Sunday morning of the race. Qualifying had to be shifted up Sunday morning because of the weather condition on Saturday. And the first session, it was still pouring. It was pouring, and all the drivers went out on wet tires because that was the first session. And as I told you, people were going to be sliding, and that was exactly what happened. In Q1, those that were removed in Q1, Hamilton in P16, Behrman P17, Colapinto P18, Hulkenberg P19, and unfortunately Zhou Guanyu. I think we're kind of used to Zhou Guanyu at this point. He has always been at the back. And there, in this session, I mean, a few mistakes here and there. Other people sliding out of the track, but nothing crazy. But the only person that brought out the red flag in this session was Franco Colapinto. But then it's his first session in the wets as well, on full wet tires, so you kind of expected it in a way. But yeah, that was the only red flag of that session. But Lando was very lucky in that session, to be honest. I think based on all the run-ins, Lando finished that session P15, so he was just one position off Lewis Hamilton, and he would have been knocked out in Q1. In Q1, in the fastest lap was set by Max Verstappen, I think, at the end of that session. So yes. And getting into Q2, the eliminations were Bottas, Max Verstappen. Yes, Max Verstappen was eliminated in Q1, and Sergio Perez after him in P12. No. Bottas P11, Max Verstappen P12, Perez P13, P14 was P14 was Carlos Sainz. Yeah, I believe Carlos Sainz. There's just so much that happened. I'm telling you, I'm trying to recall this. I even have some things written down in front of me here. But even with everything written down, you can see it's hard to recall. And in P15 was Pierre Gasly. So in this case, I think you might be surprised to see Red Bull P12, P13. Well, I think it's a combination of issues. First, the first crash in this session was Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz brought out the red flag. So, but that was earlier in the session, you know. And I think by the lap he set, I think his lap was good enough for P14. I don't think Gasly set a faster lap. Gasly started P15. And I think everything was going well until the restart. Then Lance Stroll crashed. Now, that crash of Lance Stroll set a chain of events that made Red Bull unable to set a lap, especially Verstappen he had a lap, but that was before the crash of Lance Stroll. And you can bring into context again the timing of the red flag, because Lance Stroll crashed, I think, then maybe 40 or 50 seconds later the red flag was shown. I think in that situation, if they had red flagged the qualifying session immediately after Stroll crashed, maybe the Red Bulls would have been able to go out and set a lap time. Although that wasn't the case, unfortunately for them. I think Sergio Perez was complaining on the radio that no, we have to do a better run plan, and Max came out later. He was frustrated by the timing of the red flag. He was like, why did he have to wait close to 40, 50 seconds before they give a red flag? Once the car stopped, the car hit the wall, it's a wet condition on the most dangerous corner on the track, red flag it immediately. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So Max Verstappen was knocked out in Q2, which automatically meant he was going to start P17 because of his 5-place grid penalty. I'm sure I mentioned that in my preview video. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out. I have also put in the description, I have put the link to the sprint review of yesterday. If you haven't seen that too, please go check that out. And into Q3. Now, the crash for Lance Stroll was good enough to take him into Q3. So despite getting into Q3, he crashed, but he couldn't take part in it because, of course, there's nothing he can do. Into Q3, the next car to crash was Fernando Alonso. Alonso was the next one here. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Aston Martin today. Really, it's quite an unfortunate weekend for them. I'm sure the drivers, the mechanics at this point will just be like, let's just do and get over this. You know, that's just, I'm sure that was how they were feeling. Although they did well to repair Lance Stroll and Fernando's car so that they could partake in the race. And yeah, Albon as well had a massive shunt, a big one. His shunt was so bad, the car was destroyed. I wonder how he came out of that fine. I don't know what happened to the car. He was going into the straight. He was going into turn 1. I don't know, hit the brakes and boom. He just spun. The crash was so bad that he was automatically disqualified. Not like disqualified, but he couldn't, the car could not be fixed for him to partake in the race because the race was 3 hours after qualifying, exactly 3 hours after qualifying. And the engineers could not fix the car. So that meant Alex Albon did not partake in the race. Now, even though he crashed, his lap was good enough for P7 or P8. I think I have that here somewhere, but I'm going to read it out soon. So, yeah, that was the major thing. And also, given the timing of when Albon crashed, there was a red flag as well. But when everyone came out of the pits, it was an incredible session. There was the lap times were just changing at the top. And eventually it got to a point where there was a point where Yuki was faster than Lando Norris in the middle sector. It was just amazing to see. Like, I was like, is it going to happen? Is it eventually going to happen? What's going on here? At the end of the session, at the end of the qualifying session, Lando was P1, P2 was Russell, P3 was Yuki, P4 was Ocon, yeah. P5 was Lawson. So you can imagine, it was a lot of crazy stuff going on here. P6 was Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. P7 was Oscar Piastri. Piastri didn't get a good lap at the end. I don't know what happened to him there. And P8 was, who was P8? Okay, P8 was Alexander Albon. Despite his crash, his time was good enough for P8. And in P9 was the Aston Martin of Alonso, and P10 was Lance Stroll. Now that set the grid for qualifying. I think at this point everyone was like, wow, there's a championship battle back on here, because Lando is starting P1, Max is starting P17. Well. That was when things got interesting. Now let's get into the race itself. Before we get carried away with the race, I'd like to mention also the demo that Lewis Hamilton did in the McLaren MP4B of Ayrton Senna, the championship winning car from 1990. It was really nice to see, honestly. I think you could see how cool those cars were, honestly. It was just so nice seeing Hamilton driving in that car. I think even for him, I think he was emotional a bit coming out of the car, because he was like, as I mentioned in my previous video, Hamilton sees Senna as he's like the main reason you could say his idol or something like that. Yeah, that's what you could say. But it was good seeing him driving that car. Honestly, brought so many memories. I think at the end of it, I think maybe his wife or his sister, the wife or sister of Ayrton Senna, brought him the helmet of one of the helmets of Ayrton Senna. So it was really nice to see. Very cool session right there. It was very emotional for sure. And well, I think it's really great to see people living out their dreams like this. It's just amazing to see. I wish I could live my dream out like that. But you don't know what the future holds. You never say never. I mean, Lewis is almost 40. He's 39, and he's still living his dream. So it's never too late to live your dream. Yeah. Now into the race itself. Well, Into turn one. No, before we get into turn one. Well, on the formation lap of this race, something unexpected happened. Lance Stroll, he beached his car in the gravel on the formation lap. This just took me back to last year. I mean, last year's one was Charles Leclerc. Leclerc lost the hydraulic. I mean, his car had an engine issue, lost the hydraulic. That is why he crashed. But for this year, Lance Stroll, nobody was near him. He was on his own, getting to turn 4, and he just lost the car. For some reason, he said he braked and he spun. Okay. One moment, he's fine. He's by the roadside. Just drive back onto the track and you're good. This guy beached his car. He got into the gravel trap and he couldn't get out. So the start had to be delayed. So that was the race for Lance Stroll. He qualified P10 and he didn't even compete. He was out of the race just by beaching his car. Crazy. I don't understand what's going on with that guy over there. Then, after that, when Stroll was beached, the race could not start. Now, back to the track, every car was on the grid. It said the start was aborted. It was an aborted start. But for some reason, I think Lando, George, and Yuki and Lawson restarted the race. I think, but I can't blame them. I think they just followed the guys that were in front of them, even though some stayed behind. So right now, Yuki, Lawson, George Russell, and Lando Norris are under investigation for a start procedure infringement. So yeah, there's no news about that yet. We don't know if it's gonna be a time penalty or it's just gonna be a warning of some sorts. I don't know, because if it's a time penalty, whoa, it's gonna affect the championship table drastically, because it's gonna even bring Charles Leclerc closer to Lando Norris in the championship, and it's gonna give Max Verstappen more points ahead of Lando. So let's see how that one goes. I'll give you an update when that has been put out there. Hopefully it doesn't come out when I'm recording this video, but if there's a decision, I am gonna put it, maybe get an image of the decision of the FIA and attach it there. Okay, now into the race proper. Going into turn 1, well, Lando bottling the lead again. I don't know what is doing this guy. Lando I don't know what is with him with race starts. I think the only good race starts that he has had was in Singapore when Max was P2 and he was P1, and he led the entire thing, to be honest. I think that was one of the best performances he had. But this week again, you could say he started well, but George was just faster. George got to the first corner before him, and George took the race throughout. Lando did not lead a single lap in this race. Pretty interesting, you could say, given he was on pole, and he just hung on to George for a long time. He could not overtake George at all. Another person that had a very good start, Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen went all the way from P17 to P10 by lap 2. Listen, that guy, I don't know what to say about him. At this point, he's the best driver. I mean, he has been the best driver on the grid, but it's like, if you're saying it again, it's like I'm emphasizing too much, but it was just amazing to see what he did. Max Verstappen today, if there has been a drive that Max needed so much, it was today. And he delivered absolutely. Let me tell you something. If you don't like Max Verstappen, at least admit that he's a great driver. Admit his skill. Admit who he is as a driver. How do you go from lap 1, 17, lap 2, you're up to P10? 7 positions in one lap. By lap 16, he's up to P6. By lap 33, he's up to P2. And by lap 43, he's up to P1. I just don't get it. Of course, situations played well into his hands. But from that lap 43 Max Verstappen went ahead to set 17 fastest laps. He finished the race 19 seconds ahead of P2. He went from P17 to the win. And by doing that, today he has extended, he has the record right now for the most days leading the championship table, breaking Michael Schumacher's record. I don't know how many days it is, but I think I'll find the image and I'll attach it. He has also overtaken Lewis Hamilton for the most career percentage wins. Also, he is now the undisputed driver with wins from most different positions on the grid. 10 different he has won races from 10 different positions, and P17 was the lowest. And I think he also joined, there are only 5 drivers in F1 history that have won from P17 or lower in a race, and Max Verstappen is one of them. If you're hating on Max Verstappen, how is your day going? Because I don't think today is a day you can hate. Today is just a day you're like, you know what? My hands are up in the air. Max Verstappen, all to your greatness. Well done. What a drive. And I think it was right that he won Driver of the Day today, because if Max did not win Driver of the Day, his fans would have gone crazy. If that race today, the race he had today was not enough to win Driver of the Day, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. It was just amazing. And now he has extended his gap on Lando by, I don't know by how many points. I think at the beginning of the weekend it was 47 points, but then after the sprint it was down to 44, and now it's back up to 62 because of where Lando finished. I'll get to Lando in a second. But it's just, man, the greatness of Max Verstappen. He went through this entire race, no DRS. This is just pure pace. Pure pace, no DRS assistance whatsoever. Max Verstappen is to me, he's the greatest wet driver, like, in Formula One. Like, there's nobody else that can come close to him. Your car might be good, but you can't beat his skill and pace in the rain, in wet conditions. Like, this takes me back to 2016 when Max Verstappen went from P16 up to P3. I think it was in 13 laps or something he did that. Crazy. The guy just goes around and finds grip where there is no grip on the track. Nah. I remember yesterday, when they were waiting for qualifying, I think Oli Beerman was interviewed and he was asked, what was he doing? And he was like, he was watching Max Verstappen's race from 2016, where he moved from P16 to P3. And well, today Max Verstappen just updated that. He went from P17 to P1 in the race. 17 fastest laps. One race. Nah, Max is just built different. I'm sorry I'm waxing lyrical like this, but I'm just so impressed by what that guy has done today. And if you missed that race, honestly, just go. The replays won't do, like, the highlights won't do justice to it. Go and watch the race itself. Just go watch the race itself. That's all I can say to you. That's it. Because if you miss this session, I don't know how else to do it. Because what I'm saying right now, I don't think it does justice to what Max Verstappen did on track today. He's inevitable. That's it. And for Lando, honestly, I don't know how Lando will cope at this point, or how he's looking at the championship, because this was one day that Lando needed to do everything right. But he didn't. Beginning with the start. There is no way you're letting George Russell get into the lead. You're P1. And you know, if Russell gets in front of you, it is hard for you to overtake. You can't just get Russell like that. It doesn't work. Like, you would have to chase him till till his tires fall off. And this is the wet condition, so you have no DRS assistance. You might have the fastest car, but Russell also is very good at defending. So Lando needs to work. Honestly, people have said it too much now. He needs to work on his stats. His stats are really poor. And that is what is costing him a lot in so many races. Like, how do you have 8 pole positions, but for 7 times from your pole position, going into turn 1, you don't have the lead? Why? Or by the end of the first lap, you don't have the lead. What is that? if you want to fight for world championship, especially because this year it's all over. Honestly, at this point it's all over. Max Verstappen is taking that championship without a doubt. It has to be. Max needs to have at least 2 DNFs, and even that, if Max can still race in the last race, he will still win the championship. As it stands, Max can win the championship in Las Vegas in 2 weeks. He just needs to have a good result, and if Lando doesn't finish at a very high position, he's good. He won the championship already. I mean, to be a perfect place to win the championship, because he will just party. You know, it's Vegas, might as well party right there, right? So Lando with the bad stats. I mean, you can't totally blame him today. He was unlucky as well with the safety car. I think even George Russell was on the radio. He was complaining to his team like he didn't want to pit because they were expecting more. Another set, because it rained so many times, so like they were just expecting more at a particular point, and the team boxed him. So when they boxed George, they boxed Lando as well, same time. But then Max Verstappen and Ocon stayed out, and Gasly, 3 of them stayed out. They remained on the track up until the rain was so heavy that FIA had to put out a safety car because it was going to be risky at that point. The driver's safety was what was paramount at that point. And by doing that, they were going well. I think the race will have continued under a safety car condition, although this is where things got interesting. Franco Colapinto smashed into the wall and red flag. This was where things got interesting. That was on lap, I think that was on lap 34 or so. Yeah, lap 33, lap 34. That was where that happened. And it was a red flag. Now, that red flag meant there was no more safety car. Everybody had to come back into the pits. And that was where Ocon, Gasly, and Max Verstappen put on a new set of intermediate tires. And that intermediate tires took them to the end. And that was where the disadvantage was for Russell and Lando. I think in different circumstances, in a different circumstance or in a different world, Russell should have been winning this race, but Max will have probably ended on the podium as well because of his drive at that point. I think he drove well up until the back of Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc pitted. Charles Leclerc was the first person to pit actually. That moved Max up to P5. Then he got a Yuki, and Yuki pitted as well. That took him directly to the back of Ocon. Then the top 2 pitted. That was where Max got to second position, and the safety car was just perfect for Max. I think this is where luck comes into it. Although you can't take anything from Max Verstappen's drive today, you can say, yeah, he was lucky with the safety car. But so a lot of times Lando has been lucky with the safety car as well, especially in Miami. The safety car came out perfectly for Lando to win that race, because if not because of that safety car, Lando was not winning that race. That was going to be another Max win, despite not having the fastest car in that race. So there's that. What else am I missing? Alpine. What a day for Alpine. Let me tell you something. I can't even explain it. I have never imagined in my life that I would see a day where there are 2 Alpines on the podium. Alpine finished the race P2, P3. Kudos to Gasly for holding on to his position, to his P3 position, because George Russell was rushing that guy at the end. He almost got him. I think a few more laps, if there were a few more laps added, Russell could have possibly gotten Gasly for that last podium spot, but kudos to them. Normally, Gasly and Ocon are like, as you know, they are not best friends. You could say they hate each other, but hate is a very strong word. They'll say they don't like each other. But today, Gasly and Ocon were smiling at each other. Even Ocon was like, this takes him back to when they were kids, like the good old days when they were always on the podiums together. It was amazing to see. Now, that takes Alpine from P9 in the Constructors' Championship all the way to P6. They got 33 points just by finishing P2, P3. Ocon with 18 points, Gasly with 15 points, 33 points. They are up to, I think, they had 14 points at the start of the weekend. Now they're up to 47. 47 points, and Now they're gonna be battling VCARB, Haas. The constructors battle at the top and the midfield of the constructors table is going to be amazing getting up to Abu Dhabi, because from now on it's straight battles for that constructors position, because that moving from P9 to P6, if they can finish P6 in the constructors, that is an additional $30 million to Alpine. And that will go so much, that will go far for them into whatever they're doing for next year's car. So yeah, that's it. I'm trying to see if there's anything I have missed here. Honestly, today also was a day for everybody, like everyone was getting investigated for something, to be honest. I think this weekend, if you were not investigated for something, you were very lucky. Because let's start from the sprint race. Max had a 5-second penalty for the safety car infringement. Then, at the start of the race, Lando, Lawson, Russell, and Tsunoda are being investigated for a start infringement. So we will know the update of that later. BMN was given 10-second penalty for causing a collision with Colapinto. I felt that was too harsh because nothing happened to Colapinto and BMN spun. Then Piastri was given 10-second penalty for causing a collision. Yes, that one was worth it because he took out Lawson. Lawson spun. That was his fault. 10 seconds for him. Then Nico Hülkenberg was given he was given a black flag, actually. A black flag. He was disqualified from the race for getting assistance from the stewards because his car stopped and he caused a safety car. But then he was pushed by the stewards and he continued. So he got a black flag for that. Once your car stops and you cannot continue, you have to go back to the pits. You're done. That's it. Your race is over. And Mercedes are currently also being investigated for technical infringement. I think they messed with their tires, the tire pressures, when the aborted start happened. So that they've been investigated for that. We'll know the outcome of that later. Hopefully they are not disqualified, because I think it will be too harsh as well. And Sainz was also noted for unsafe driving. He brought out a safety car as well when I think he hit the wall at the restart and he couldn't continue. But then I think the stewards helped push him, but then he wanted to continue driving. But there are people there, so you can't do that. It's not allowed. So he's been noted for that. I don't think he'll be punished for anything because he DNF'd. He didn't continue the race. So there's that. So yeah, honestly, this is a lot, and I don't even, as you can see from everything I've said, there's no cohesiveness to all the things that I've said. But if you're still here, man, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and if there are any updates coming on later, I will be sure to update you. Thank you so much for watching, and well, the next race is in 2 weeks. At least we get a break. Thankfully, next week is my birthday, so no Formula One. I'll take that. At least I can celebrate my birthday properly without thinking of a race or anything. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Probably be something this week. Let's see what the updates are regarding the FIA decisions on all those things that were noted down, the start infringement, the Mercedes possible technical infringement as well. So yeah, I'll update you on that one later, and I'll see you soon. Peace.